Hi, everybody. Happy New Year-ish. Welcome to the RP Show. It is episode number 1405 of Canada's daytime sports talk show, coming at you live here on the Game Plus television network and streaming live on YouTube. If you're listening to us later, what'd you wait so long for? Podcast wherever the best podcasts are found. I am in the South Florida studio tweeting as we speak. So I hope you're ready for a lot of fun today. I know it's going to be a lot of fun. Moose is in the Toronto studio. All I'll say is, and that's his home office. Can I say it, Moose? Welcome. How are things in Toronto? Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, an early Happy New Year to you and everybody watching too. Things are great. It's a great day and a chance to reflect on the year that's gone by and get ready to flip the page on the calendar.
I'm going to tell you something right now. I am
Yeah,
laughing my ass off as we sit here right now. This is only something that you and me and our staff could have put up with, could have done. Okay. Before we get into the fun quick six show topics and all the fun things we're going to do today, our
yeah.
poll question for EMJ marketing is a real, not a tear jerker, it's a real thought provoker. It's a trick question. EMJ Marketing every day brings you the poll question here. EMJ Marketing will provide the perfect the perfect speaker for your event. Oh, you think I
Perfect.
was drinking,
They
and I'm
probably
not.
would provide the perfect poll question. We should have just asked them.
Here's the poll. Between the two of us squirrels, this one got past us. Somehow, Darren, this got past us. Here's our poll question for EMJ Marketing today. It has to do with the NFL. Should the Philadelphia Eagles rest Saquon Barkley for the regular season finale or let him break Eric Dickerson's record? Now, you would think that that is an easy enough question, but when you make the results, the answers yes or no, people are writing us saying, that's two questions. We don't know how to answer the poll. And I said to Darren, well, we can take this down or try to reword it, or you know what, just leave it and have people chase their tails into the new year. And that's what I think we're going to do.
I can just imagine. Do you want him to rest or do you want him? Yes. What does that mean? Yes.
It's a
Oh my
double.
God.
Oh my God. I hope everybody's ready to have
In the
fun today.
break, I might be able to fix it. Okay. In the
I'm
break.
not sure we want to fix it, though. That's the thing.
I know.
Coming up on the program today, as I say, the quick six show topics. I'll look back at 2024. I said this is the countdown show, and it is in a lot of ways. Our guests include the manager, I think they call him head coach for whatever reason, in the Western Canadian Baseball League, Eric Marriott. He was the coach of our Moose Jaw Miller Express last year. Got to know him really well. Took us all the way to the league final game, bottom of the ninth, where we lost. Oh my God, it was so painful. We'll see if Coach Marriott's over it. And Lee Genier, our good friend, will be joining us, sports executive to the Stars. You know, Darren, Lee Genier is going to be with us an hour too. So that is going to be fantastic. Can you, like you did yesterday, hit the quick six show horn?
Pew, 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 pew.
Thank you. Okay. Before we look back at 2024, well, hang on. So Serena was sitting on the couch last night before we went to the Rangers and the Panthers game, and she was reading her news, whatever she follows. I want your take on this, Darren. And she's like, oh my God, those people that are going to Times Square. Oh my, what's wrong with those people? There's going to be 2 million people down there, and some are going to be wearing diapers. And if you want to go and you want a good seat, you got to be there for 12 hours. I'm like, just chill out for a second. I've done it. Do you remember that, Darren? I can't remember what year it was.
I do.
2018. You and I were both in each other's lives at the time, but you didn't come with me to Times Square.
No.
But I was in New York, and here's the thing. There's a way to do it. There's a way to do it. What you do, if anybody's thinking about going to Times Square tonight and you haven't made a plan yet, you don't need to pack a cooler, a Coleman, and wear a diaper and go down there now and get on the rail. You don't. You go and you search a restaurant in Times Square, which is what we did. You buy a ticket. They sell tickets. We're at Virgil's Rib and Steakhouse in Times Square. You buy a ticket. You sit there all night. A lot of times it's all you can eat, all you can drink, which is kind of a waste for me, but whatever. But I saw Mariah Carey, the Queen of Christmas. I saw Ryan Seacrest. I saw them all. So there is a way to do it. So when the ball drops tonight at midnight Eastern, I'll be long gone to sleep. I've done it. And it's fun. It was fun. Are you, is it somewhere that you would want to be, or would you be like Serena Dawn and just want to completely avoid it?
I want to do it once. like the New York thing. You guys did it. I think I want to do it once. I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be cool to be in one of these worldly cities, be overseas in Switzerland or, somewhere cool for New Year's. I think it would be fun. But I'm also a fan of, there's lots of sports to watch tonight too, and maybe get out. I'm just a fan of being around, keeping it simple, quiet, reflecting on the year. But once in a while, it'd be nice to do something big.
Well, it was awesome. The ball dropped, confetti and streamers went off everywhere. Dun 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 dun. Dun. Everybody's hugging and kissing, and it was great. I sure as hell wouldn't want to do it every year. I'm sure there's a lot of people that do it every year, and they love it. But yeah, I'm the been there, done that kind of guy. Bought the T-shirt, so it was great, but I'm not interested to do it again. Anyways, on to point number one. Before we get to the New Year's stuff, looking back, looking ahead, this is the big story. I'm seeing it all over my social media, and I know you are too, Moose. Jared Goff threw 3 touchdown passes, and the visiting Detroit Lions turned up their Week 18 division showdown against the Minnesota Vikings by beating the San Francisco 49ers 40-34 on Monday Night Football. The 14-2 Lions extended their franchise record for wins in a season as they beat the 49ers on the road for the first time since 1975. And I'm going to be honest with you, Bill Toffin, legendary radio guy in Hamilton, had it on his Facebook this morning. He's a big Vikings fan. This is the biggest game in NFL regular season history coming up this Sunday. And that's, number one, do you believe that it is? I mean, we're kind of prisoners of the moment these days. And the thing is, in America, they always say, this is the biggest ever. It's kind of a sell job. Is it, this upcoming game?
No, it might be. And again, I'm not a big history guy, but it might be the biggest regular season game in Vikings history or Lions history. But I don't know if it's biggest game in NFL history. I mean, we had, next week might be bigger when we look at, the Bengals trying to get into the playoffs. These two teams are rolling. They're going to be both in the playoffs. Yes, it's a matter of the 1 seed versus the 5 seed, which is very significant, and the first round bye that goes along with it. But I mean, yeah, there might be a bigger game next weekend. So forget about biggest of all time.
Colt writes in San Diego, says, I can't wait. Sunday night football is going to be must-watch TV. Skol, Vikings. We are going to.
It is going to be great.
Yeah, he goes, well, for sure. And I did see the interview with Dan Campbell after the game last night, his post-game news conference. He's like, this is fairy tale stuff. That it would all come down to the number 1 seed and Sunday night football and a divisional clash for the division title, the number 1 seed in the conference. Oh, my God. I guess from a historical perspective, let's ask the viewers, is it the biggest NFL regular season ever? Your game ever? You're saying no. I'm saying, you know what? Let's go with it for the sake of what the hell. Now, to the poll question here, we can have some fun with this. The Eagles play the Giants, and I haven't talked to my guy Chris from the Bronx yet. Chris Sanford, you met him, big Giants fan, at least last I checked he was. They can't even tank right. They won last weekend. You would know that well. And their players and Brian Daboll, the coach, saying we come out to play. We don't care about the number 1 pick. Didn't they slip from 1st to 4th? There was a massive shift in the top end of the draft coming out of the weekend. Whatever. Giants at the Eagles this Sunday in the final regular season game for both. And that is the poll question today that we're having fun with. Should the Eagles rest Saquon Barkley as he goes after Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing record? Yes or no? That actually, we could have stopped right there. Now that I think about it, in terms of wording this, I say play him. I do. I don't know what they're going to do. Are they saying yet what the Eagles are going to do, Sirianni?
I don't know if they've said yet. I say let Saquon decide. If he wants to try and break it, this is a big deal. Forget about 17 games, 16 games, and all the rest. Forget about trying to diminish what he's done. This is a big deal. Getting to the 2,000-yard mark, especially as the league has become more and more of a passing league. We've had a bit of a throwback here with all the great running backs and Josh Jacobs and Derrick Henry and Saquon all throwing it back and having great years after moving to new teams. Let them do it. But there's a great video that circled during the season of Sirianni going to Saquon on the bench. I'm sure you've seen it. It's one of these NFL films behind the scenes things. And he said, Saquon, he's like, you're this many yards away from breaking your career high, setting a career high. Do it, like, you can go back in if you want. He's like, want you to decide. I'll rest you, but I'll play you if you want to try and set the career mark. And he said, let the young kid play. Let the young dogs eat, he said. And that was Saquon. He didn't want to break his own record, but that was his own career high. This is an all-time record to be in the history books. I say he plays.
Okay. Nelson, our VP of Sim Events, writes in. He says Saquon has likely already hit all of his performance bonuses. Rest and a Super Bowl are more valuable. Saquon doesn't have one. Eagles one have one. Can you go back and read, Nelson, proofread that? From my childhood best friend, Vaughn Buford, writes in. He says, Happy New Year. Keep the receipt. That was our fun thing all summer when I was together with him in Canada. Check the receipts, bro. That's what I used to say to him all the time. So hey, Vaughn, welcome. Glad to have you. Sit down and make yourself comfortable. John Ohm says 2,000 is a huge deal. Play him. I want to say something, too, by the way. The Eric Dickerson lovers are saying, oh, yeah, well, if he said he did it in one more game than Dickerson did, so what? That's not Saquon Barkley's fault per se. I mean, he could have said it in 16 games rather than 17 games, but whatever. If you want to put an asterisk beside it, go ahead. It's similar to Corey Sheets. Here's my CFL roots coming out again. Tied George Reed's record, Darren, for 100-yard rushing games in a season with 10 back in 2013. And you know I was good friends with a G unit, George. And he's like, yeah, well, took him 2 more games. I'm like, well, yeah, I did. But so what? And then he tied it. He didn't break it. That's the football gods going, So, I'd be interested to see if he plays. Go ahead.
But to Nelson's point, you know, when he says, well, being healthy, hit the performance bonuses, the Super Bowl is more important. It is, but when you're out of it, yeah, the Super Bowl matters. But again, that's a hard thing still, and it's not a guarantee. It matters being number one and being able to say you're the rushing king. We'll argue about Dickerson, we'll argue about others, but to be able to be the rushing king, that is his whole life after football, if he breaks the record. Like, you go to after dinner speeches for multiple, probably in the high 5 figures, low 6 figures, you know, when you can get the rushing king as your after dinner speaker, or signing books or writing a book. Nobody cares about the guy who's in second place or third place or fourth place. If we've learned anything about the recent Brett Favre scandal, you know, and I can't remember the guy's name, and that's going to make the point. He was trying to, you know, Strahan broke his record because Brett Favre let him have the sack.
Mark Gastineau.
Thank you. And I apologize to Mark Gastineau, but it proves my point. We all know who Strahan is, right?
Yeah.
We don't know who Mark Gastineau is.
Well,
this matters.
Some of us do.
Yeah.
But for different reasons. He was married to Bridget Nielsen before your time.
Yes.
David number 1 writes in. He says, hope you gents and the RP squad and everyone at Game Plus have a wonderful New Year's Eve, and here's to many great things in 2025. Watching on Game Plus TV today. Glad to have you, David number 1. And Bill Edwards has entered the chat as well. Happy New Year, crew. He's the guy that gave me the Ron and Don bobblehead. It's somewhere over my shoulder. I got to slow down. In a lot of ways. Bridget Nielsen, Google her. Anybody who likes a tall blonde would like Bridget Nielsen. I'm married to one. So there's that. Not her, but another tall blonde. Twisted Mike writes in. Big Detroit Red Wings fan. Twisted Mike writes in. He says, hi, my Green Bay Packers are a dark horse in the playoffs. I wouldn't want to play them because I think they could pull off some upsets. And where the hell is it? Twisted Mike says, somewhere in here, he says he's going to be having a potluck tonight and watching hockey, which a lot of us will be doing. Bob in Saskatoon writes in. He says, any more on extended NFL coverage? Well, what do you want to know? We've just spent 14 minutes on the NFL. We haven't got to the other things that I wanted to. And I said to Darren on the phone this morning in our morning meeting. I said, if we wanted to, we could talk about the NFL 2 hours a day like every other show's doing and do it very well, probably better than most. I'm fiddling with it because I still want to be the hockey guy. For the love of God, I came to Florida 4 years ago wanting to be the Florida hockey guy.
Yeah.
I don't need to have the NFL saying, you know, it would be better for you if you talk more NFL. Listen, you do you, we'll do us. And the thing is, we have the Fiesta Bowl coming up tonight, and I'm going to talk about that. It's in my quick 6. I got people here telling me that We need to delve headfirst into more college football coverage. And I'm like, yo, you need to stand down. I'll be watching the Fiesta Bowl tonight, the triple header tomorrow, but I'm not going to be the analyst. No, I can't. Stop. We do what we do here. People like it for the reasons that we've lasted 1,405 shows, appealing to everybody. So just because the NFL wants us to talk about them more, and by the way, I love them, we'll do as much as we can, but we'll do what's best for us. We're up against it for the first break. We'll take a look back at 2024 because it was a really wild sports year. And Bill Belichick's coaching college, okay? What more do you need to know? Right? But we got a huge Canada-USA battle tonight at the World Jays. As I say, the Fiesta Bowl tonight, NHL games tonight. You and I never played our breakaway bets, but that's okay because there's a lot more games to play, 13 tonight to pick. So we'll be right back. We are live across Canada and in 32 U.S. states on the Game Plus television network. We're also streaming live and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found. finger at me, mister. The Moose is hopping the show.
Nobody can see that.
Yeah, I know. The Moose is hopping. He's giving it. You're on. I am laughing my patootie off here on the final show of 2024. Moose, are you on the screen? Can you bring yourself on the screen? So I put a post up. Thank you, 2024, because it was an unbelievable year.
Yeah.
Had the tremendous great fortune of broadcasting from the Super Bowl, the Stanley Cup playoffs, the Grey Cup, Western Canadian Baseball League All-Star Game, the final, not to mention a host of events across Alberta and Saskatchewan. And a guy writes in here, I didn't even know we were Facebook friends. And his name is Mike Edwards. He's probably watching right now on Game Plus. He goes, it was nice meeting you in Vancouver at the Canucks game, even though you hated my jersey, LOL. So I'm walking around the concourse, Moose, with Kevin the Medium. And the guy had on, I want to say, Mike, if you're watching now, am I right? Like a Messier jersey, Messier-era Canucks jersey. Do you know those ones that were like half red and then they melded into the black?
Yeah.
You know those ones? And so this guy, Mike, he's standing there. I'm with Kevin the Medium. He can corroborate. I walk right up to him, and the guy goes, you're Rod Pedersen. Darren, as God is my witness, this happened. You're Rod Pedersen. Game Plus. I watch you on Game Plus. I'm like, yeah. Kevin crapped himself, almost fell over. And I said, dude, I was just thinking about that jersey and how much it's my least favorite of all the Canucks jerseys. And the guy was like, oh, gee, thanks. And I said, how many do you have? He's like, 50. So anyways, I just want to make it clear, Darren, I did not say I hated the jersey. I said it was my least favorite. Does that sound like something that would happen to me? You've been in those conversations around me.
Of course. And
didn't say I hated it.
It is their worst jersey. I'll say it. I don't like it. It's not good. Not good.
Yeah, the guy is bigger than me. Just so you know, you're not standing with him barreling down on you. And he's a big dude. I'm a big guy.
Yeah, good point.
Mike, thanks for watching. Just part of what was a lot of fun 2024. So awesome. So by the way, I'm going to roll this all into something here. Well, point 2 is a 2024 look back, because I said this is going to be a countdown show tonight. Pause for a sec. Point 3 is the World Jays. Arch rivals Canada and the USA face off tonight in the preliminary round finale at the World Junior Hockey Championship in Ottawa. The teams are tied atop Group A with 7 points. Finland is close behind with 5 points heading into a game against Latvia today. In other games, Kazakhstan faces Switzerland and Sweden takes on Czechia. Again, this is why everybody loves this show. It's taken me 1,400 episodes to realize it. AJ Jakubek will call the game tonight on the TSN radio network across Canada. AJ Jakubek, longtime friend of both Darren and mine. And the reason I know, he put it on his social media, photos from the broadcast with it. I'm like, way to go, AJ. I'm going to be honest, Darren, jealousy is one of the 7 deadly sins. I'm not jealous of AJ, but can I say, I'm a little envious, okay? I'm a little envious. That's all I thought. But it's like, Rod, you did it in 2012, so you can't do it all the time. So we come home last night from the Panthers and Rangers game, and I'm on the couch, on my computer, watching TV. Serena's gone to bed. Phone rings. What comes up on the screen? AJ Jakubek. I'm like, the guy that's going to call Canada tonight. And I'm like, well, this must be serious. Why would AJ be calling me? So I answer it, and I'm kind of loud in our place, and he's saying, I don't mind saying, he's talking about if the Commanders play the Buccaneers, he might come to Florida, and can he stay with us? And he might go to the Orange Bowl. He's looking at the schedule, and I'm talking to her. She opens the door from the bedroom, looks out at me like, really? I'm like, oh, but I thought it was an emergency. And here's AJ talking about coming down here. So he's like, to us, calling these games is second nature. It's not a big, it's a big deal, but we're not nervous about it. So New Year's Eve, as I was saying to Darren, 2011, New Year's Eve, Canada, USA. I called it at Rexall Place. I looked it up here, 16,647. I was calling it on the Sportsnet radio network, 27 stations across Canada. Canada won, by the way, 3-2. And on our roster, Jaden Schwartz, Brendan Gallagher, Mark Scheifele, Mark Stone, Tanner Pearson, Boone Jenner, Ryan Strome, Jonathan Huberdeau. I said to Darren, how the hell did we not win this thing? Oh, wait, our goalies were Scott Wedgwood and Mark Visentin. For the U.S., Their team was Jason Zucker, Jared Tenorti, Charlie Coyle, Jacob Trouba, JT Miller. They didn't even medal. We ended up winning the gold, beating Finland. Sweden won in overtime the gold medal game, beating Russia. Only Mika Zibanejad in overtime takes a pass, comes off the bench, takes a pass, barrels in, and scores. Russia had Nikita Kucherov, and do I need to say more? They still talk about that tournament for whatever reason. I don't know why. But
Unreal.
yeah, AJ was saying to me, because we lost. Why are we still talking about it? You know, but AJ's like, I remember listening to you. The comeback, we were down 5-1 to Russia in the semifinals halfway through the second period, came back, tied it, lost 6-5. And the roof was coming off the saddle dome, dude. I swear to God, the thing was going. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm calling it on the Sportsnet Radio Network, Fan 960 in Peter Marr's seat. So, yeah, there will be some feels tonight. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is a heavyweight tilt. And, you know, it's hard to imagine when we think about the CHL and then these other countries, but like this tournament, what I've learned is another level. Like these players that are playing in this, like for Canada, the US, you don't face this kind of competition during your season. You're not going to face this kind of competition at the Memorial Cup. Like this is really a big boy tournament, a 19-year-old tournament. And you got young players trying to make their way. The Gavin McKenna's. Like I don't know if I said it on this show, but I watched him in the pre-tournament. He was nervous and uncomfortable and out of place.
He's not now.
He didn't fit in. But it took him a period or two to get comfortable.
Of course.
And Dave Cameron's kind of protected him to not put him in too much, you know, give him too much responsibility. Give him an opportunity to thrive. It's a hard tournament. So when Canada loses to Latvia, yeah, Latvia's not great, but we beat Finland 4-0. Finland beat the USA. Like the world has gotten good. And tonight's going to be great. The Americans and the Canadians, first place on the line. This is what we want.
Well, if you want to delve deeper into it, it's quite interesting. Couple things. We're talking Canada, USA tonight, final game of the round robin for both. Right? Yeah.
Yep.
That's where we're at right now. But with regards to our poll question, should Saquon Barkley play for the Eagles in a meaningless game this weekend against the Giants, or should he be allowed to play and break Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing record? He needs a little more than 100 yards to do it. Actually, no. Nelson writes in, he says he needs exactly 100 yards to tie the record. Giants give up on average 141. He goes, he should have it at the half if he plays. Tony from Cochrane, Alberta writes in, he says Saquon should play. This is not the NBA with Joel Embiid. Pro sports have a contract to play for your money. I and Dan Campbell don't believe in resting players. Oh, it's a fun topic, man. We're only 3 damn points into the quick six. It's going to take all day to get through this. This is different. This is Dan Campbell, you run your team the way you want. We'll run our team the way we want. And if I'm Nick Sirianni, as we sit here and talk about it, I don't think I wouldn't play him. I wouldn't play him. And I wouldn't leave it up to the player either, which, who does that? Nobody. I wouldn't play him. Would you if you were Nick Sirianni?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would leave it up to the player. It's tough, though, because you leave it up to the player decides he wants to play, and then he gets hurt, and you lose your first round of the playoffs because you don't have a running back. That's tough. That's tough. But this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and this is a chance to cement yourself in history. Like you look at, I'm a Titans fan. We've had great running backs, and we've been in the conversation for this, like with Chris Johnson. CJ2K got to 2,000, and Derrick Henry, and all the rest. Now, I don't think we're in the conversation of breaking it. They didn't get close enough in the last week to break it. But I think about that, too, and it's legacy. And, you know, those guys will be remembered as great running backs. They won't be remembered as the best. Saquon has a chance to be number 1 all time. It's crazy.
Nick Sirianni doesn't care about that. And by the way, you said it yourself. If he gets hurt, they will lose in round 1.
They will.
Probably should be the MVP. Nobody's talking about him, though. Everybody's talking about Josh Allen and Why isn't it Lamar Jackson? But nobody's talking about Saquon Barkley. He's on the verge of having the best rushing season in the history of the National Football League. Randy in Winnipeg says, even if Barkley breaks the record, it took one more game to do so. We talked about that a while back. Randy also says, you play for championships, not records. Yeah. And by the way, I'll tell you, again, back to how this show's different than the rest. One of the many reasons why it's different. Craig Dickinson, I told you after he was on with us last week, I called him, and we talked for about another half hour to an hour. He's in Montana. And when he came with the Chris Jones crew to Sask in 2016, first week of training camp, he goes, why don't you come out with us? Come out. We're going out as a staff tonight. And I said, nah, I don't need to go. And Dickie, I think you know part of this story. And I'm like, Dickie, I'm not interested in going. I understand you guys go pretty hard. And I don't do that anymore. And he goes, and I said, besides, I don't know any of those guys, the Jones guys. You're the only guy I know. And Dickie was like, Rod, how are you supposed to get to know him if you don't come out with us? And I'm like, well, I appreciate it, but I'll pass. And in retrospect, I was glad that I did. But here in, you know that Cafe Seville? I never took you to Cafe Seville when you were in South Florida. I will next time. That's when we had the Stanley Cup party in September. Anyways, Joey, who owns Cafe Seville, he called me up last NFL season. He's like, Rod, come down here. We get Sirianni's here with the coaching staff of the Eagles. And I'm like, I don't know those guys. And it was the same thing. Joey's like, how are you supposed to get to know them if you don't come down here? And I didn't go, but I feel maybe in 2025, that'll be my resolution. Start walking through these doors when people open them. There you go.
You see that it's the Jim Carrey movie. Yes, man. You got to say yes to everything.
That's what Alan May says.
Yeah, just say yes, and you never know what experiences
if
you're going to.
If I actually, people think I have had a pretty wild life, and I have. I've said no to 90% of stuff. My God. Glenn in the Queen City, Glenn with two N's, writes in. He says, hi, Rod. Glenn Chernick here, spending the night watching the Pats and Warriors, then Canada versus U.S. Venison cottage pie with sweet potato crust is on the menu. Oh, my God. That sounds amazing. Darcy in Grand Prairie, Alberta, writes in, and he says, bring back the V Canucks jersey. Now, yeah, I can get down with that. The Tiger Williams, the Rich Sutter. Yeah. The King Richard Pritter. Yes. Oh, my God. You want to hear another funny story? Last night, press box at Amarant Bank Arena, one of the ushers there, security guys. I'm not going to say which one. He was showing me photos of the Stanley Cup ring that the Panthers gave all the staff, which says a lot about the Panthers. And he says, the biggest ring I ever saw was the Pittsburgh Penguins. Guy that worked for the Penguins, Rod. Can't remember his name, but he had this huge ring. Let me put it. It's the biggest ring I ever saw. I said, what was his name? He goes, I can't remember. But when you walk away, I'll remember. And I'm like, okay. So I went down and sat in my seat. Literally 2 minutes later, he's yelling over the rail, Rod, I remember his name. Gil Malouche. I'm like, you mean Gilles Meloche? Yeah, that's him. Again, you won't remember Gilles Meloche, probably, Darren, but it wasn't Gil Malouche.
No.
So
before my time.
We were laughing our fannies off coming home talking about that. By the way, point 4, Boise State has taken that long-awaited next step, earning a spot into the college football playoff for the first time ever, 17 years after a program-shifting win. Awaiting the number 8 Broncos tonight in the desert is another team that made a breakthrough. Number 5, Penn State, also is in its first college football playoff, shaking its can't-win-the-big-one reputation after that big win over SMU last week. The prize in tonight's Fiesta Bowl, a trip to the college football playoff semifinals. Boise got here behind Heisman Trophy runner-up Ashton Genty. The Nittany Lions earned their spot behind a stout defense and one of the nation's best tight ends in Tyler Warren. We'll talk some college football and bowls in hour 2. Is it Marriott next? Moose? Lee? All right, Lee Genier, Championship Sports Executive, joining us next. We'll be back live in a moment here on Game Plus Television, streaming live, and, of course, podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found. everybody. It is our special New Year's countdown episode, hour one, brought to you by Culligan Water. Drink clean, live green, filter your water for a healthier tomorrow. Culligan Water of Regina. Visit culliganregina.com. Let's bring in our good friend Lee Genier, sports executive with the Stars, current president of the Saskatchewan Rattlers. And Lee, just hang on. Troy in Toronto writes in. He says, "Hey, Rod, Darren, and the whole RP crew. Hope everyone has a great New Year's Eve. Looking forward to Canada USA, which is a stellar way to spend New Year's Eve at home, sober and grateful. Hashtag no hangover." John in Edmonton writes in and says, "Is this show live or pre-recorded today?" It's pre-recorded, John. Anyways, how you doing, Lee? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Roddy. I'm doing fantastic.
You're always doing fantastic, man. What will 2024 be remembered for you?
Is rejoining the Rattlers. I think it was a big thing, and just making a real impact there, and seeing the team grow, and all the kind of the milestones we hit in 2024. And I think that'll be the biggest thing. There was a lot of, from the Rattlers playing to us hosting AmeriCup and bringing Team Canada to Saskatoon. A lot of great things happened in 2024.
This is the Canadian Elite Basketball League, everybody. And by the way, if you can turn your speakers down, Liam, a little more from what it was, just what we're talking about here. What are you looking forward to the most in 2025, whether it's personally or professionally?
Well, you always want to grow. I think personal growth, and then continue to see growth of the franchise. We're going to have a bunch of returning players to our franchise, and we're going to continue to build. We're having an amazing off season, which is really, really exciting for us. Barry Rollick and I keep going back and forth on players and how exciting that is, when that's going to look like, and really just building the best product we can, put it back on the court, and win a championship.
What is it now? 10 teams across Canada? It's every time I turn around, there's more. Yeah. Okay. Well, you know as well as I do, we've known each other since the 90s. Every time we get together, I just love talking sports with you. I think we see things the same way. And whether we're on national television like we are here right now, or sitting courtside or having a coffee somewhere, I would ask you this question. When the Raptors were winning and won an NBA title, everybody said it was great for basketball. And there's no doubt that it was, right, at the youth amateur level. Now that they suck, does it hurt basketball, or is it not even having an impact? What would you say to that?
No. Well, when I look back to 2019 and where we are now, and the growth of basketball, growth of basketball in Canada alone is up 35% year over year, which is really, to see the grassroots of the sport grow, to see it grow internationally, to see how many Canadian players are playing in the NBA. Those are kind of some of the very key statistics and markers you look for with growth of any sport, right? As everybody kind of talks about, let's say you talk and compare it to CFL. How many Canadians are playing in the CFL? Well, you've got, this year, I think 24 Canadians playing in the NBA. So you kind of look at the talent level, and, and there's more of an even talent level in Canada on the basketball side, which means, that it's really growing for a country of our size.
Well, you're a vision guy. And tell me if I'm going down the right road here or not. Everybody talks about growing basketball, wanting to be bigger. Dude, finished 5th at the Olympics, like in men's basketball. I would say Canada's arrived. Canada is a world basketball superpower. No? Let's stop talking about striving to be. I think you're there.
Yeah, absolutely. When you look at the men's senior program that, played in Saskatoon, and they'd won their 2 straight games. So AmeriCup wise, they're 4-0 right now. And probably poised to win AmeriCup. So you're absolutely right. Have they arrived? Yes, they have. So as you know, it's always a continuing process. You keep striving to get better, and you always have to backfill, because you always have up and coming players, and then you obviously have the your established veterans. So it's always looking at that grassroots level, what it's brought. And I look at what the CBL has done for basketball in this country, and where it just continues to grow at that grassroots level as well.
Let's pretend we're just sitting around a casino choking down smoke having a coffee, Lee, talking about this. One of the reasons the CEBL is so great is it's a bunch of former CFL people running it. And basketball people too, like your guy Barry Rollick that you mentioned. But you know yourself, something needed to be changed with the players dropping out. You guys got off to your best start in franchise history. I don't need to remind you. I'm just telling the viewers with the Rattlers. And then you lost your best players. Is that going to change this year?
Well, we're going to do, the best job that we can and the way we structure our contracts going forward for sure. And I think that really speaks to the talent that Barry brought in some amazing players. And you always, I don't know, say too good, but they got scooped up and into other contracts. So, what that entailed to do though was for people to see the best talent. Like I say, you talk about Jalen Harris scoring 45 points in a single game and setting a new record. So, people were able to see history being made this year and see some amazing talent come through. So, I think that's a big part of what we'll always continue to do. You can't always control when, with players have an opportunity to go make more money. In this business, in the sports business, you always kind of get to give them the opportunity.
I guess it's happening everywhere now that you say that. You're right. Transfer portal, one-year contracts on the other leagues. It's happening everywhere. But I mean, that Jalen Harris, bro, he was like Lionel Messi in the MLS. He was so far above everybody. You almost don't want to scout a guy like that or sign a guy like that.
Well, like I said, when we signed him, like we know that, the talent level that he had. And, like I said, it was great to be part of that journey that saw him, set a new personal best. And and he put a bunch of eyes on himself, and great on him for doing that. And he's taken his career back to a new level as well. So, we always kind of look at what's coming up next, and the diamonds in the rough that are coming out of the NCAA. And again, and I always speak to what Barry's able to uncover is some of the players, like a lot of these players in the league have come through Barry Rollick and finding some real gems as well.
Before I let you go, here's my best sales pitch for you. Everybody, if you didn't get what you wanted for Christmas, get some Canadian Elite Basketball League season tickets. The schedule's out, Lee. So there you go. I've put there's the alley-oop for you. You want to dunk it?
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. Get to the rattlers.ca, pick up your tickets. It's going to be a great season.
Or all across the league, all the other 9 markets too.
Absolutely, it will be.
Okay, Lee. Yeah, go ahead. Continue.
You're going to see the best ball around, that's for sure.
No doubt. Well, all the best in 2025. I look forward to when we see each other again, Lee.
Awesome, Roddy. Happy New Year, and always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you. Longtime friend Lee Genier, the president of the Saskatchewan Rattlers. We'll be back in a moment with a sports update. We are live on the Game Plus television network, live streaming, of course, and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found. Oh, I'm live? Okay. Hi, Moose. Yeah. Okay, here we go. This is going to be a quickie ish. Let's do a sports update. And while we're waiting, 902-518-3033 is the number to text in on the text line and, of course, streaming as well. I'm just returning messages, and that's on me. I shouldn't be doing that. I'm distracted in the program today. I should put my phone away. Yeah, I get you, Colt. He wrote in and said, how about the news of G. Roy Simon going to the Sacramento State? Yeah, we talked about it yesterday, bro. You weren't here. El Sasco writes in, Vintage Sasco writes in and says, hi, Uncle Rod. Happy early New Year. He says, quick stats in the face. Dickerson needed 379 rushing attempts for his record. Barkley currently only has 345 rushing attempts. If he gets the record, it's probably with less attempts. Oh, my God, boys. I get it. We're splitting hairs here. Semantics, as they say in the business world. Less attempts, but one more game. The yards are the yards. Let's celebrate the man. Glenn in Moose Jaw writes in. He says, man, I hated those Vancouver jerseys the Canucks wore. See, to be honest, they're one of my favorite jerseys in NHL history, let alone the Vancouver Canucks. Anyways, to the sports, arch rivals Canada and the USA face off tonight in the preliminary round finale at the World Junior Hockey Championships in Ottawa. The teams are tied atop Group A with 7 points. 7:30 Eastern on TSN. The Toronto Maple Leafs kick off today's NHL action as they take on the Islanders in a rare matinee home game. It's the start of a home-and-home series with the teams meeting again Thursday in New York. The Leafs enter the contest trailing the first-place Florida Panthers by 2 points in the Atlantic Division standings. Wild, all the stuff we've covered here in Hour 1, I didn't even get to last night's Panthers 5-3 win over the New York Rangers. I know y'all wanted to talk about that. The Rangers played hard. They played very hard, but lost. Panthers came out. They needed to score. They hadn't scored in 2 straight games. Igor Shesterkin was off his game last night. You know what? For all my thoughts, go to the South Florida Tribune. It's in today's edition. The Winnipeg Jets are in Denver tonight. Winnipeg coming off a 3-0 victory over Nashville last night that moved them into a first-place tie atop the NHL standings. In other action today, Montreal is at Vegas, Calgary hosts Vancouver, and Edmonton welcomes Utah. The Toronto Raptors are in tough to break out of their lengthy slump when they visit the defending champion Boston Celtics in NBA play today. The Raps saw their losing streak hit 10 games with a 136-107 defeat to visiting Atlanta on Sunday. Toronto comes into tonight's action with a 1-14 road record. By the way, the message I was returning, and Darren, you don't need to put yourself on screen, just everybody listen up. That post that I put on Facebook about what a wonderful year 2024 was, some guy wrote in and tried to make me feel bad about it. Somebody tries to make you feel bad, they gotta go. Jared Goff threw 3 touchdown passes, and the Detroit Lions beat the San Francisco 49ers 40-34 in NFL play last night. Be an encourager, not a negative Nelson. There's a New Year's resolution for everybody. Not you, Darren, because you're not like that. You're an encourager. But a lot of other people could maybe get the message. That result last night on Monday Night Football means NFC's number 1 seed will come down to the final game of the regular season when the Lions host the Minnesota Vikings. The winner gets a first-round playoff bye and home field advantage until the Super Bowl. The loser must play on the road in the wild card round. In the rare event of a tie, the Lions would get the top seed. Okay. The sports update is for Landmark Cinemas in theaters now. Red One. If you're looking for something to do, and by the way, I had a phone call from a guy the other day that said he's bored over the holidays. Go to a movie. Might I suggest Red One? After Santa Claus, codenamed Red One, is kidnapped, the North Pole's head of security, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, must team up with the world's most infamous bounty hunter, played by Chris Evans, in a globe-trotting, action-packed mission to save Christmas. Get her done. Moose, are we okay to break? To get out of here now?
I can imagine you can break whenever you'd like.
Whenever I'd like? Okay. Note to our Game Plus stations. We are going to take a break and come back with hour 2 in a moment. You are watching on Game Plus TV, streaming live and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found. It's me, the champ. It's hour 2 of our New Year's Eve countdown show. Rockin' Dick Clark New Year's Eve has nothing on us. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network, streaming on YouTube and, of course, podcast form. I'm here in the South Florida studio. Moose is in Toronto, and if we bring him on, he has done a wardrobe change. Dude, Beyonce's got nothing on you. And you're going to take this opportunity to troll me, eh? You're going to troll me?
No. Game's not over yet. There's no post-game trash talk for being up. Because you know what? If I come on here and try and rub your nose in the fact that Alabama's losing, Michigan's going to lose the game. That's not good. I put it on because I actually got the time of the game wrong. I thought the game didn't start till 2:00. So I was going to change when the game was over, but it started at noon. So here we are.
16-0. Moose's Michigan Wolverines are motorboating my Alabama Crimson Tide in the whatever bowl. over in Tampa Bay today. Foolish me actually considered going over there, but it's got to take a really important game for me to leave the 954, which is Broward County, Fort Lauderdale area code, where I'm actually in Palm Beach County, 561 area code. Takes a lot to get me out of here. I'm glad I didn't go. But you know what? I'm glad that you did. You are trolling me, Darren. Just be honest about it. Yeah, no. You're cheering for your team. That's what you're doing.
That's right. That's right.
So you could have had it on at the start of the game, but you didn't.
Yeah.
Or start of the show, but you forgot the time. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Well, what a busy year end. And now might be a good time to get into that. Can you hit the quick six show horn again, Moose? Do you mind? Can you do that?
Well, now they're going to see me do it. Pew, 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 pew. It doesn't look as cool when I'm.
Yeah, Monday Night Football we talked about last night. Let me just re-up on that. This is what we've been talking about today. If you're late and you just showed up, the Detroit Lions last night won, beating Jared Goff threw 3 touchdown passes, and the visiting Detroit Lions turned up their Week 18 division showdown against Minnesota by beating the San Francisco 49ers 40-34 in NFL play Monday night. So it sets up what they're talking about is the biggest regular season game in NFL history this upcoming Sunday. It's Sunday night football, prime time on Football Night in America. Here it is. The result means NFC's, the number 1 seed, will come down to that game Sunday night. Lions hosting the Vikings. The winner gets a first-round playoff bye and home field through to the Super Bowl. The loser must play on the road in the wild card round. So we've been talking about that a lot. Our poll question today is for EMJ Marketing. And to be honest, it's a fun one. I think people are realizing what we meant. We worded it this way. Although I did not change the tweet. Darren might have changed it on YouTube, but I said, for EMJ Marketing, should the Philadelphia Eagles rest Saquon Barkley in this week's game or allow him to break Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing record? It's not a yes or no answer. Upon further review, I worded it wrong, but whatever. What did you say? 60% are saying yes?
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, yes to what? I mean, all we rooted
Exactly.
wrong was the answer, right? But whatever.
Yes. Well, most people are, interestingly enough, most people are saying that he should play. Michael Wynn's watching from Ice Time Sports in Winnipeg. And he's saying, yeah, the record's on the line. And I'm sitting here, the more I think about it, because the Eagles aren't really my team at all. I'm a Cowboys fan. I hate them. And their fans are annoying. I wouldn't be playing him. He's the best player in the NFL. Certainly he's the best player that's not a quarterback. And if he gets hurt in the game going after this record, which doesn't do the Eagles any good at all, you don't play him. So that's what we've been talking about today, and the fans have been enjoying it. 2024 Rewind we didn't get to, but we're going to right now. Canada, USA tonight at the World Jays is for first place to end the round robin. Canada versus the USA. Fiesta Bowl tonight. Penn State, Boise State. David Benefield's kids playing in the game for anybody that cares for Boise State Broncos. NHL tonight, we're going to get to our picks, and then 0.6 is randoms. But because I said it's the New Year's Eve countdown, and an hour ago, I talked about being in Times Square. Can't remember how many years ago it was, 6, 7 years ago, for the countdown. It's not as horrible as you all think and what you read online. Yeah, if you want to go down there 12 hours in advance, get on the rail, take a Coleman cooler, pee in your diaper, fill your boots. We don't judge here. But you can go buy a ticket in a restaurant, have all you can eat and drink, if that's your thing, because that's what we did, Virgil's Steakhouse in Times Square, and then just come out at midnight and celebrate it. It's awesome. So there's that. But I will be asleep tonight for sure by the time midnight hits. I'm always am. But to look back at 2024, I'm going to say people are going to get triggered by this. That's a them problem, not a me problem. 2024 was fantastic for me personally and professionally. Broadcast from the Super Bowl, the Grey Cup, the Stanley Cup playoffs, Western Canadian Baseball League. It was my rookie year. We went to the league final. Eric Marriott coming up, the Moose Jaw Miller's coach, later this hour. Was at the All-Star game, broadcasting from there. All kinds of wonderful events. Theron Fleury's golf tournament, Sask Hockey Hall of Fame, Recovery Day Saskatoon. My God, the Wolseley event where I had to rent our U-Haul truck because it was the only vehicle for rent in Moose Jaw. Like, my God, what a year. I can't think of anything bad. So I'm kind of sad to say it go, but I think 2025 is going to be even better. Those are my thoughts. That's just mine personally. We'll get to the rest of sports. But how do you recall 2024, Darren?
It was a great year. Like it really was.
Yeah.
Like I look back on it and we always leave the year kind of wondering, was it a good year? Was it a bad year? You're kind of feeling, I didn't really accomplish that much. And then you start looking back and you're like, holy smokes. And I think about the year that was, like it was early in the year. I got to call curling again for like the first time in a long time, to call provincial championship curling, which was incredible. We were at the Briar with this show. We were at the Fireman's Bonspiel with a lot of the same people, the Wolseley people, and hosted the dinner and all the rest. Like that was fantastic. And we did a lot of cool things. Like I met Jim Nance this year. I caddied in a professional golf tournament. Got to call another Canada West Football Championship, making all these OHL inroads, going to places like Peterborough and Oshawa and Kitchener, and went to Ottawa for the first time and saw the world. Like so much great things happen in your year. So it's a fun time to reflect, let alone the sports stuff.
Well, and that's what we're going to get to. Jeff, the Stamps fan, showed up, and I want to thank everybody that has made this show a priority, both live every day, and Jeff, the Stamps fan, is one of those, Bomber Boy, and all those that watch every day, and those that listen later on the podcast. Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes in, and he says, I can't plan my 2025 until the CFL releases its schedule. I don't know what to say about that. Maybe my resolution will be not to be a negative Nelson when it comes to the CFL, and I'm kind of ending 2024 that way. I've said I'm not poking around on who the next commissioner is going to be. I don't want to be that guy. They don't want anybody questioning them. Who really does in life? It's not going to be my job to do that. Let's be positive, dear. Let's continue to be positive in 2025. And I do recall this during the year in the sports, saying how bizarro it was. Now, we're big CFL people here. I worked in the league for 20 years. Darren's been in and around it. It was a bizarro year in the CFL, but I don't think that's an anomaly. I just think that's the way that league's always been bizarro. Bill Belichick's coaching college football now. What are some other examples of, it's not just the CFL. All of sports is bizarro now.
Yeah, it really is. But there's been some great things that have happened this year, I think, in the NHL. Look at the start of this new season and Patrick Laine, what he's been able to do. And Alexander Ovechkin has been a great story in 2024. But I go back to the beginning of the year, and kind of the way we're ending the year is kind of the way I feel like we either started the year or we ended 2023 with, was a great college football playoff again. Michigan and Alabama played in that really memorable Rose Bowl that came right down to the end. And was it even a little bit of overtime in the Rose Bowl? And then Michigan wins the national championship. And then we had the NHL or the Super Bowl. And then the great Stanley Cup playoff run of the Oilers and the Panthers. And, one of the great stories of the whole year will be Paul Maurice winning the Stanley Cup. And that might go down as maybe my top story of the year. Is I think that was a feel-good story of the whole of sports. I think universally people loved seeing and were happy for him to win the cup. And then the Grey Cup, and all the rest. It was a phenomenal year.
So this is what I wanted. What we're doing here right now is what I wanted. The only thing better would be if we had even more audience participation here on the final show at 2024. So light it up. 902-518-3033. What?
No, I got more. I mean, now you got my brain going, because now I'm thinking about.
Well, finally, it only took 364 days.
Well, I save it for once a year. Got to hit it right when it counts. But, I think of curling. We were at the Briar and watching Mike McEwen at home, his wonderful run to the Briar final before losing to Brad Gushu. Jennifer Jones played her last Scotties, right? And Rachel Holman capped off another fantastic year. Like, it was really great on the curling front. Awesome.
All of it. Listen.
Olympics
were great in Paris. It was awesome. I sat at home and watched that. Not as much as I used to. I got more of a life now than I used to. I used to sit for 10 hours a day and watch curling, and that's Olympics, and that's even as an adult. But I think a lot of Trey DeBuck, long snapper for Texas State. I don't know why he loves this show so much. He told me there's only 2 shows he listens to, this and Joe Rogan. I don't know why, but he does. Because I think there's a lot of things we talk about on here that he has no idea what it is, just like Chris from the Bronx. Chris from the Bronx says, I don't know what you're talking about half the time, but you're like Rush Limbaugh. You just make it entertaining. And that's what we try to do here. But you mentioned Jennifer Jones. She was, well, I love her in Manitoba. She was hated across the country because she was the stone-faced. And she was beating everybody else's team. They hated her, right? Jennifer Jones. Well, now have you seen? I follow all her social media. She's become like a motivational speaker, or what? I don't even know if she's doing that, but she's putting motivational messages on her social media, and I'm lapping it up, bro. And it's like the mask has come off. She's not what you thought. And I'm kind of having my own intuitive epiphanies near the end of the calendar year in that I don't judge anybody by what I see in the media, and for the love of God, not what's been portrayed of them by the media. And I don't want to say who it was, but I went for lunch last week here in Boca Raton, and the guy that would, I didn't know him real well, but I know him well enough, and he was just going off how much he hated Donald Trump for like 40 minutes. We were together for an hour and a half. And I'm like, bro, I don't care. It's cool that you don't like Donald Trump. I get it. But can we talk about something else? And he was going off about everything that has been reported in the media, all the negative things about Donald Trump. And I'm like, until I know somebody, I'm not going to judge them. And even then, I kind of let a lot of things slide. But don't go by what you see. I bet you Bill Belichick is funny as hell. He's been portrayed as not a real funny guy, right? And it's sort of like you either love Brady or you love Belichick, but nobody really loves both. I love Brady. I don't love Belichick. They're probably both great guys. I don't know. But do you see what I'm saying, Darren? I can't. It's happened so many times.
Yeah.
I did an event in Paradise Hills, Saskatchewan with Brian Sutter, Daryl Sutter, Buddy Benz Miller, Chuck Wagon legend, Rachel Holman, and who the hell else? Doesn't matter. Rachel Holman was the coolest chick. Sorry for saying, cancel me if you want. She wouldn't mind because she's cool. And I said to her, I said, you are not what I thought. And she laughed. She's like, everybody says that. But she's like, so what? I'm intense. I want to win. She's like, if you took off the helmet of a hockey player or a football player, they'd probably look the same way I do. I just don't have a mask on. That's what she said, Darren. But she's funny. I got in a fight with Daryl Sutter that night. You know that. Rachel said to me after, she's like, I was on your side, but I was afraid to say it.
Daryl Sutter, not funny.
Nah, I don't. I've met him. Don't care for him.
But, even then, like, you think that, and I might have a completely different opinion, right? Based on my interactions with him, which I haven't had any with him. But that's how it is. You have to judge people for yourself, right? And sometimes, in a lot of cases, people's minds are made up, and they'll say, well, I did meet him, and I didn't like him still, because your mind was made up before, right? And it's the whole thing about being curious and open-minded, and, you can't always listen to other people, that's for sure.
And people that aren't open-minded may never be open-minded. What I will tell you is I thank a lot of great people, but particularly John Ryan's mom, Barb, the former Green Bay Packers punter, Super Bowl champion with the Seahawks. She like cracked my head open, figuratively, and said, smarten up, wake up. And I did. And it was the best thing I ever did. By the way, on the football vein, Darren, that guy that I was having lunch with last week that was going off about Trump, and I said, can we talk about something else? Because I hate politics. I don't like it. We're never going to come to a conclusion here, so can we change? And he was cool with it. How about this? He goes, Rod, I hear there's a school in town that's paying their quarterback in his senior year, high school, in his senior $250,000. I said, he goes, do you believe that? And I said, well, I got a lot of football friends around here. Let me do some checking. And I did some checking. The Americans watching this will not be surprised. The Canadians, it will blow your flipping mind. Darren, the high school football here is off the charts. Like the Miami Herald, full page every week. Previews of the games, recaps of last week, rankings. It's insane. They've got radio shows on high school football. And let's put it this way. Most of my football people said it would be hard to believe a school was paying their grade 12 quarterback $250,000 a year, but can't say they aren't either. And as crazy as it's gotten with NIL and everything else, I'm sitting here going, I'm shocked it's taken this long. As the football, your football won. That's your thing. How do you feel about that?
It's, it's going to correct itself eventually. I mean, money is coming out of the woodwork to pay players, and it is becoming a competitive landscape. It is crazy. But it's not completely unprecedented. Like, talk about the under the table stuff, and then guys like Reggie Bush getting stripped of a Heisman because, for whatever it was. and it was really ticky tack. Especially when you think about today's day and age, and thankfully he got it back. But it's become pro sports, and now you're seeing like Belichick's got Michael Lombardi, and we're seeing G. Roy Simon hired as a general manager in college football, and Andrew Luck's doing the same at Stanford. You're bringing general managers in now because essentially you're going to have to start issuing contracts and, you know, signing free agents and all the rest. What's going to happen is a commissioner is going to be appointed to college football at some point. It could happen as soon as this next year. Like 2025 could be another evolutionary year. We could see the college football playoff expanded to 14 or 16 teams. We could see a commissioner get instated, which could maybe create some rules and regulations around this and kind of sort out the transfer portal a little bit and do something. Maybe a cap it. Maybe there's going to end up being a salary cap on NIL. I'm not sure, but I think we're in the infancy of this. It's the Wild West, and we'll figure out what society looks like in maybe a decade from now.
You want to know what I'm thinking right now? I'm thinking,
Yeah.
why do we have to have commercials? Because we're on our roll. I don't want to take a commercial. We're going to have to in a second. But as we close the book on 2024 and fly into 2025, I quite often am thought of Doc and Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future. Darren's around me all the time. I say it. Roads? Where we're going, there are no roads. I'm getting so much pressure. I am here in South Florida to become the college football guy. And for sure the football guy. And I'm like, I don't want to. I haven't got, it's not that I'm anti that. I want to cover the NHL. But maybe I shouldn't have to pick. Jeff, got a lot to offer. And they see that. Rod, what do you think about this? I heard this. We want to look into that? Not really. I got other things to do. By the way, Chad writes in from Lethbridge and says, settling in for a great day of hockey. Chicago and St. Louis from Wrigley Field this afternoon and the World Juniors tonight. Hoping for a New Year's miracle. And he goes on to talk about baseball. It was too long. My text line is malfunctioning, but that's okay. Limit your text, everybody, to 2 sentences because that's all I can see. We have a lot to get to. Yeah, a lot. And we will get into college football because I am following it. We got the Fiesta Bowl tonight, triple header tomorrow. Moose and I got to play our NHL breakaway bets. We'll be right back. We're live here on Game Plus Television, streaming live and podcast wherever the best podcasts are found. Everybody, welcome back to the special New Year's Eve countdown show, where we're not actually counting down to New Year's Eve, but we are looking back at 2024, looking ahead to 2025. And actually, before we do get to our NHL breakaway bets for tonight, Moose and I forgot to play yesterday, but that's okay. There was only 3 games. Troy writes in from Toronto, and he says, the idea of paying a grade 12 kid is wild. Is there a return on investment for the high school other than a chance to win a state championship and the ability to recruit better players? Any money in it for the high school? No, it's all for this kid, and it's all about winning. It's literally all about winning. Colt in San Diego writes in, he says, will Ashton Genty have a big game tonight? Ashton Genty, what I said to Darren, we can talk college. That's the problem. We could talk it very well. We got the NFL telling us to talk about them more. And now college. Ashton Genty could be running angry tonight, Moose. He could be running angry that he didn't win the Heisman. Now, I think the voters got it wrong. Travis Hunter deserved to win it. But Genty be a guy to watch tonight. What do you think?
Well, he absolutely will be a guy to watch tonight. I mean, he's as good as any player in the country. And when you have a player like that, especially at that spot, and you can control the clock, you have an opportunity to be in any football game. I think this could be a competitive game tonight. I really do. Boise State's good. Genty on one side. And you mentioned Ty Benefield, David Benefield's kid. He's an impactful player. You're going to hear his name a lot if you're watching the Fiesta Bowl tonight.
Starting safety for Boise State. So the one game tonight, the Fiesta Bowl, I'll try to wrestle the remote control away from Serena because it's going to be a big hockey night in our house. Wonder if we'll do some appetizers or something. Probably not. What's on the DuPont Hacienda menu tonight, Moose?
Yeah, that's it. You know, we're going to do some appetizers, and we're going to watch the World Junior game will be 1. The Fiesta Bowl will be 2, but I'll be flipping back and forth between those 2 for sure tonight because I'm going to get my NHL kind of action out of the way this afternoon. Like once we're off the air, I'll finish watching the bowl game here with Michigan and Alabama, but I've also got the Leafs game on. I'll watch a little bit of that. I'll watch NHL during the day, and then it'll be football World Juniors tonight.
Okay, while we're sitting here, and by the way, Jeff the Stamps fan, I'm shocked that he watches this show as much as he does, given how diametrically opposed we are in our viewpoints of life. Like he writes in and says, it should be about teaching kids. High school. Yeah, well, it's not. So do you actually believe that? Or are you just jerking our chain? Like this morning, I'm listening to All Sports Radio, Fox Sports Radio, Fox Sports South Florida, and they're talking about what school you should choose coming out of high school. They were specifically naming schools. They're like, do you want to go to the school that gives you the best chance to win, the school that's going to pay you the most, or the one that'll give you the best degree? The screen didn't freeze, Darren. I'm staring. I'm looking at the radio going, are you guys for real? Yeah, go ahead.
That's not all the choices for a kid. So you look at winning for football. You mentioned paying the most, NIL money, and best degree. But you got to think of, okay, best chance, who's putting the most players in the pros, which school is going to be the funnest for partying, because it's what a kid thinks when he's 18. What is going to be like the cool place to see? Like, do you want to go in, inland, or do you want to be on the coast at like UCLA or somewhere cool, or Florida or somewhere like that? There's so many choices for these kids. Or do you want to go where mom and dad went because they're going to be pushing you to go to their school?
Al,
yeah.
And that's part of why I just want to watch the games. It's very clear to me that most fans just want to eat the hot dog. I've said it long before Mike Florio was saying it. He's saying it now on Pro Football Talk. He probably got it from me. I just want to eat the hot dog. I don't want to know. I really don't want to know what went into the hot dog. So we got the Fiesta Bowl tonight. I went there I watched Braden Lenius with Washington.
Wow.
I can't remember who they played. And I met up with Mark Mueller there, and I just bought a white sweater from Under Armour and spilled nacho cheese all down the front. I have a wonderful photo of Mark and I at the concession with cheese down the front of my shirt, which I had it edited out after the fact. But the Fiesta Bowl is a lot of fun. I'm envious of those going to that game tonight in Glendale. It's a great place. It's where I
That
thought
was
I
your
was going to end up.
If I'm correct, that was your profile photo for a while.
Long
Minus
time.
the cheese, right?
That's right. Minus that was before that profile photo was before the cheese dropped on my jacket.
I'll pay
And I
attention.
never bought white again. Yes, good memory, Moose. And a triple header on New Year's Day. The Peach Bowl, 1 p.m. Eastern. Texas Longhorns, Hook'em Horns, Steve Sarkisian against Arizona State. 1 p.m. Eastern. 5 p.m. Eastern, the Rose Bowl. I'll be watching that. Ohio State versus Oregon. And 8:45 p.m., Notre Dame versus Georgia in the Sugar Bowl at the New Orleans Caesars Superdome. I just want to watch the games. I don't want to know about Bill Belichick firing kids that committed to scholarships with North Carolina. He's firing them because he says they can't play, and he might not even end up coaching a game there. I think what I want, I don't know. I don't think anybody's ever going to get this. I'm going to keep putting it out and hope they do. I don't want to be the college football guy. I don't want to know because there's a lot of guys looking the other way that are the pundits, not talking about the skeezy crap that's going on. Right? Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, no, like you even say that. And we even talk about, not wanting to know how the hot dog's made and all those bevy of reasons why a kid might choose your school. And then once he chooses your school, he might still opt out and bolt to another team anyways, which we've seen happen, where he decommits to one team and goes to the other. Now, it happened with Michigan. They got the quarterback coming their way, and he's going to be one of the best in the country next year, at least by all accounts. But, yeah, even when you think you finally figured it out and you got your guy, he ends up leaving anyway. So get to the games, and the games are still very entertaining.
Hey, I guess I've said it a million times. I'm trying to focus on hockey. I'm writing for the South Florida Tribune, hockey. I'm wearing hockey. The football people want our opinion. So that's cool. That's cool, too. I'm glad that they are. Don in Ottawa writes in, Navy Don. He says, too much money ruins everything. The trick is to find the equilibrium. I don't think any sport has done that yet. Has anybody figured that out yet? It's not just sports, bro. You know that, Don. Money is the root of all evil. There's no two ways about that. Confucius say, if you are happy with what you have, you'll always have enough. Confucius always also say, if Kelly McCrimmon does not want him, you don't want him. Confucius with a French accent. Tony from Cochrane writes in, he says, Appies, cocktails, Canada versus USA, and maybe a fire pit if it quits snowing is on the menu tonight. That sounds good. I haven't even talked to Serena about what's on the menu tonight, but I guarantee it'll be great. Here's one. You and I both went to broadcast schools. I went to a blue blood broadcast school. Just saying. And my options were Ryerson in Toronto or Mount Royal in Calgary. And I picked Mount Royal in Calgary because I'm a Western guy. But not that you stayed in the West too. I have a lot of friends that went to Ryerson. Everybody says that's the best school. Well, I like Mount Royal. And you know what? I think it's very important to point out they're all great. I made lifelong friends. Kevin Carius, Brian Duff, who's on the Sabres broadcast now, Craig Adam, who texted me this morning, Pecchio. I didn't even graduate there because I got a job. My instructor, the head of the program, said, take the job. He's like, 95% of these schlubs beside you aren't going to get a job. So you got a job, take it. And I fell in love with Calgary. I had loved it before I even went there. That was another big reason why I went. But what went into it? I was a Western guy. That was my reason. How about the college you chose and why?
Honestly, broadcasting wasn't even on my radar. And I remember I met Darren Detition, and people had said, probably similar to you. I mean, you were on the radio when you were a teenager, but man, you should go into broadcasting. You've got a great voice. You should be on TV or the radio. And I didn't think that was something you went to school for. And so I found out at a sportsman's dinner when I was playing senior hockey that Darren Detition went to this school in Saskatoon, and we didn't even know it existed. It was behind the bar that we used to party at, Riley's in Saskatoon by Syast. So literally Googled it, went for a little open house, and it was convenient and easy, and they had a great resume of Drager, Millard, Detition, all these guys who had gone to the school. And I'm like, I got to go. And I got accepted, and I was in. That's it.
Okay, Shy, I'm going to get to your message in a second. You let me know when Marriott checks in, or has he already?
Not yet.
Okay. I didn't graduate, whatever. Not a big deal. My mom said, you're going to finish. It turns out now I don't think I can. But, anyways, I was told I was on the Mount Royal Wall of Fame, Hall of Fame. And it's funny because, yeah, I know I am because they called me. I was working in Prince Albert. The school called me and they said, Rod, can you send us some business cards? And at that time, I was voice of the PA Raiders, Prince Albert Raiders in the dub. And they said, can you send us some business cards? We'd like to put them on our Wall of Fame. And they're like, by the way, do you know where Kevin Carius is? Do you know where the whereabouts is of Kevin Carius? I said, I'm looking at him. He's on the couch across from me. We were living together in PA. They're like, we'd like to put him on the Hall of Fame too. Can you put him on the phone? Back when there was like a cord.
Yeah.
Here you go. Yeah.
You got ripped off, I will tell you this. Because same thing. If you left our school early to go take a job and you worked 3 months, or is it 6 months in the workplace, that counted as finishing school and you got your diploma.
Why look back?
I know.
It all worked out. And we're in the Wall of Fame anyways.
And here's Eric.
Okay. You tend to him. Shy writes in, he says, Rod and Moose, wish you the best in the New Year's. Rod, I hope you take in the World Conference in Vancouver in July. Happy New Year. Well, I'm probably going to be doing baseball. And we'll talk with Coach Marriott about that when we come back. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network, streaming live and podcast, wherever the best podcasts are found. A very special New Year's Eve countdown episode of the RP Show. Although we're not really counting down, we'll be long gone to bed by midnight tonight, but we're bringing in some of our special friends and special guests as we look back at 2024 and look ahead to 2025. And who would be better than the head coach of the Moose Jaw Miller Express, Eric Marriott, joining us from the Western Canadian Baseball League. He is my Coach of the Year, the team for which I broadcast this season in the WCBL. Coach, welcome to the RP Show. It's your RP Show debut. Happy New Year, brother. How you doing?
What's going on, Rod? Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure, and Happy New Year to you too.
When you look back, Eric, and by the way, everybody, this is the best guy I've been around, man. I have so much respect for you, and I'm glad that I told you that during the season, Eric. You rock, bro. When you look back at 2024, what are your emotions? How do you feel?
Oh man, I think it's a whole roller coaster up and down. It was a roller coaster 24 for sure. We had so much fun in the summer. We built such a camaraderie, family-based team, and it wasn't just from me and my coaching staff. It's from the top of the organization all the way to the bottom, and we had some bumps along the way, man. It was some situations where we'd never been in before as an organization. The year before, we went 38-18, and we were, I believe, the best team in the league by far. All we did was win. We showed up to the ball field. We won every day. And then this year we had some bumps where we couldn't necessarily get past the seventh inning without giving a tying run up or whatever that is. But we pushed each other to fall in love with each other, for lack of better terms, and to fall in love with the city. And I think the city fell in love with us back, and we were right there. It was a matter of one swing.
It is such a wonderful league and such a wonderful story, the league itself. But just for those that don't know, I mean, people watch this show every day. They were following the ride of the Millers, going to the final game of the league final, bottom of the 10th inning, and you lose on a solo home run to the Okotoks Dogs. I'll say it, they hated Okotoks Dogs because they're the Yankees of the WCBL. You don't get over those, Eric. You don't get over those.
Ever. No, you don't. 2022, we did the same thing. We went to the finals. We played Okotoks. We took them to game 3 and we lost. And I think ever since, we circle Okotoks on our calendar every single time the schedule comes out, because we know it's going to be a hard-fought game, a well-coached game on their behalf for sure. And crowds on both sides like seeing some good baseball, and those are two solid organizations every night. So
here's to a rematch in 2025. But before I go any further, because it's always a flyby. I told you I never had a chance to see you at the end of the season because everybody's going their different ways and stuff. Looks like we'll be together again in 2025. But the way you coached, two things. Number one, I didn't think you could do that anymore because that's old school concepts, and they worked. And two, when you gave your speech at the year-end barbecue at the Peugeot's house, and thank you to Daryl and Tamara for hosting us, my jaw was on the grass, bro. It was. Who do you credit for those core concepts of the way you manage a ball club?
Yeah, I got one guy. His name is Michael Hunt. I call him Coach. He's on our organization board. He was my first coach when I played here for the Millers. So I came here in 2018 as a 21-year-old kid that's never been to Western Canada and only knew Ontario and the States where I was at school. And he gave me a call one day and I was in class, and for whatever reason I picked it up, and he said, "I want you to come play for me and I want you to be my center fielder." So I said, "Yeah, let's do it." Signed the contract, came out, and he was as old school as it got with coaching. It was not summer ball. It was a continuation of school ball, and he wanted to win this for the city. And it was just exactly what I wanted to be as a ball player. I wanted someone to push me, to hold me accountable when I didn't do things necessarily 100%. And that's what he was. And he made me fall in love with Moose Jaw.
It's a wonderful town.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. These kids now get a rap. They just do, that generation. And I just feel like they responded to what you were selling. When did you? I'm sure some didn't like it. And the other thing is that people don't understand. The season is a journey. You lost some guys along the way, right?
Absolutely.
Some that didn't follow in with that. You know, in the end, you go to the league final, though. It's just some kids still gravitate to that, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely. We got 30 guys on our roster, 32 this year, and it's hard to please all 30. Obviously, we try to, but some kids deal with failure and not playing in other ways than some other guys, and it's unfortunate, but that's the way of the league. I mean, if we want to do this thing and we want to continue to grow as coaches and they want to grow as players, that's the cold reality of baseball, and someone's always coming for your spot, and I think that's what happened throughout the summer.
And then the funny addendum to that is it transfers to life. Ta-da! It's all the same concept. Well, if you want to be successful. And just before I get to some viewer questions for you, Eric, if you're okay with handling a few.
Of course.
I came in. I didn't want to get to know anybody. I've been hurt before. I just wanted to call the games. I didn't want to know the players. I didn't want to know the parents because you get attached. Didn't work that way. It didn't work that way. That's the family of the Moose Jaw Millers, man. And I get the sense, well, you played for them. Has it always been like that?
Yes and no. When I played, we weren't very good, to be honest, quite frank. We were middle of the pack. Not very many fans. A few would show out, our diehard and stuff like that. But I think that we cracked the code in terms of recruiting and in terms of making sure that they buy in and they come in, they're here for the right reasons. We're not coming to get our ABs and our innings and go home and we're flying someone else in and no one's better than the other person. We're here, we're doing the same thing, all 30 of us. We're all wearing Moose Jaw across our chest. We're in it as an organization, and we want you to be better men when you go home at the end of the summer.
To be with that ball club, it's a special thing, and I felt it immediately. Okay, Tony from Cochrane, Alberta, writes in. He says, nice Raptors hat, Eric. Is that your favorite or just something you grabbed to throw on today?
Yeah, no, I'm a Raptors fan. I'm Toronto sports through and through. Leafs, Raptors. Leafs, Raptors. We'll go Bills in the NFL. And then, of course, the Jays.
Of course. Well, okay, well, she just cracked open a whole Pandora's box of things to talk about. If I recall, because I looked you up, is it Niagara Falls listed as your hometown, or what is listed as your hometown?
Yes, sir. Niagara Falls, born and raised.
Okay. Where are you on the Blue Jays off season? I'm seeing a lot of disappointment from their fans.
Blow it up, man. Blow it up. We're not close to competing with those teams for World Series. I love Vladdy, I love Bo, but if they don't want to be here and we're not going to give them the money they want, then we got to get something back. That's my humble opinion. I don't know. I feel like we're in a standstill. We're making trades for players that are good but not great, and our bullpen has a lot of issues, and our rotation's solid, but I just don't think that we're up there with the Yankees and the Dodgers and teams like the Padres or Red Sox right now.
Do you think the talent's there, or you do not think the talent's there?
I don't think there's enough there right now. I think there's pieces. I think that there's a potential for be a talent. They could go all in this year and maybe sign a couple guys, but then what happens if we don't win it? Then we're rebuilding all over again. So yeah, there's pieces, but I don't think there's World Series pieces.
Can you just watch a game, or are you strategizing and not, you maybe would or wouldn't do the same things John Schneider's doing?
Probably 50-50. Definitely have a cold pop here and there and become a fan, but there's other times where I'm like, I probably wouldn't have taken him out there, or maybe let him go one more batter, or why are we pinch hitting here, or why is this lefty starting against the lefty? But I think it goes above John Schneider, and there's people in khaki pants telling him what to do.
Bingo. And since I have you here, the Leafs, is this the year?
You got it. Yes, sir.
And you say it every year. He can set your watch by it, right?
Honestly, I think so. I think we could make a run at least. It's hard to win, of course. There's so many talented teams, and we got the pieces on that team for sure. We got arguably the best goal scorer in the league, arguably the best passer in Matthews, and our goaltending tandem is better than what I think thought. And if we can continue to be a defensive team and get stops, then we'll be fine.
Outstanding. Well, it took this long to have my longest chat with you that I've ever had, Eric. Hopefully we can do a few longer ones this summer. But I'll say Happy New Year to you and yours. Thanks for having me and all you've done for me, and can't wait to see you in the new year.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate the time, and I'm looking forward to hearing your voice back in the summer.
Thank you, man. The head coach of the Moose Jaw Miller Express, Eric Marriott. We'll be back with overtime right after this. And the Moose, we're going to do our NHL picks. We're not going to let him get away with it today. We'll be right back here on Game Plus Television, streaming live and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found. Okay, everybody, we are here for overtime, and we thank everybody that has stuck around for it. For so many of you, including Monty and Saskatoon, it's your favorite time of the show. It's brought to you by Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. And by the way, if you have a winter birthday in your house and that boy or girl is hockey obsessed, then you got to look no further than Overtime Hockey Lanes because their state-of-the-art equipment, spacious shooting lanes, and games for all ages, licensed bar and restaurant for mom and dad. Overtime Hockey Lanes is the place for you. Book your lane and your birthday party today, 28th Street Northeast, Calgary. Okay, the Moose is here. Allie in Edmonton writes in. She says, Happy New Year to you all. Looking forward to more fantastic shows in 2025. Darren is, I'm not sure where he's at. He says, Happy New Year. If there's a record to be broken, then play it out. He's talking about Saquon Barkley. His prediction tonight, Canada 4, USA 2. Darcy in Grand Prairie, Alberta writes in. He says, I used to be a bouncer at Riley's. Did he throw you out, Moose?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Can you imagine me getting tossed from the bar?
Oh, my God. I got tossed out of more places, which, by the way, I used to think was a bad thing. But I saw, now that I got sober, coming up on 10 years, I saw the bouncers in, where the hell was I? Some Vegas casino. Let's say Caesars. They threw some guy out the door and they get, see you tomorrow. That's what the bouncers said. There's nothing. It's not a big deal. You just can't be here now. But you can come back tomorrow. Bob in Saskatoon. Crazy money in college football. Some are making more than Brock Purdy's rookie contract in the NFL. Yeah, I don't doubt that. John in Edmonton writes in. I'm going to try to get to as many of your comments as I can. And Moose, I had it saved here, and now here it is. Rod, in 2025, who do you think will be the only Canadian team left in the NHL playoffs? Also, what are your predictions for the CFL schedule whenever we get it? I predict the Bombers and the Riders will meet on Labor Day weekend in Regina. That's my prediction. And the Stamps and the Elks will meet in Calgary the next day. Who will be the last Canadian team left standing? Bro, if I say the Leafs, would you laugh me out of the building?
No, I wouldn't, because that's, I mean, as good a thing as any. I Leafs, Oilers, it could be the Canucks, could be the Jets. I'm going to say the Winnipeg Jets. I think it'll be the Winnipeg Jets last standing.
Okay.
And on the CFL vein, on the schedule, when you say, what are you hoping for? Like, I mean, I don't really know what you want me to say, because you're going to play the same teams the same number of times. Like, that's all set. It's not like the NFL schedule where, okay, we know the cycle, right? And which teams we're going to play. We just don't know exactly when they're going to be. And there's a finite number of those road trips. The other one is college. We don't know what the non-conference schedule and that kind of stuff's going to be. But isn't the CFL pretty standard throughout year after year? Just change some of the dates around?
Yeah. Cardinal Ryan in upstate New York says, gotta fly, y'all. Hope everyone on the Rod Squad has a happy new year. Same to you, Cardinal Ryan. That same guy, John in Edmonton, writes in. He says, Rod, when do you think we will get the CFL schedule? I don't know, and I don't think about it. I know you'll never listen to me, but I will say, try to think about something else. Because you know what? It comes faster if you don't think about it. You're welcome. Bomber Boy writes in. Says, Happy New Year, Rod and Moose. See you in 2025, everyone. Go Jets, go Packers, go Bombers. Bomber Boy dropped $10 for that comment, Moose, and I want to know where the money goes. Can we make that our New Year's resolution to find out where the money goes when people are writing in to have their comments read?
Yeah, we can do that. It might get loaded onto a Starbucks card or something. I'm not really sure.
You're not holding out on me, are you?
No, I'm not.
Okay. BW in Edmonton writes in. He says, be smart tonight, you people. Don't drink and drive. I could probably make a lot of money Ubering and driving Uber around here.
Given our age demographic, how come we haven't had okay, see you next year?
I got one the other day.
Did you?
Yeah, from my massage therapist, Ricky. That's his name. Ricky.
Wow.
Jeff, the Stamps fan, says it will be early in 2025, I'm told.
Well, as long as it's before May.
Yeah. I don't know, man. What do they say? If you Can't say anything nice. Don't say anything at all. I don't know what the holdup is. I'm not poking around.
Yeah.
Don't ask questions. Okay, I won't. We'll talk about the NHL. Nice try, Moose. You try to slither out of the breakaway bets. Not going to
We got to go. Let's go.
Yeah. Okay, just no reasons why, just
Yes.
who's going to win. Bruins and Capitals tonight. Who do you like?
That was this afternoon. It might be over by now.
Islanders Leafs. That's a matinee as well.
I'll take Toronto.
Me too. Montreal at Vegas.
Vegas.
Me as well. This is going not well. Outdoor game. Blues, Blackhawks in Chicago.
I'll take
Chicago. Chicago for me. You two, obviously.
Dang, yeah, we're all the
Okay.
same.
Philadelphia at San Jose.
Sharks.
I'll take Philly.
Okay, there we go.
Jets at Colorado.
Ooh, Avs.
Perfect. I'll take Winnipeg because I love Winnipeg. Carolina at Columbus.
Carolina. Oh yeah, now it looks like I hate Winnipeg.
That's
Happy New Year.
I set it all up that way. New Jersey at Anaheim.
Ducks.
Oh, perfect. Devils for me, brah. It'll be scorched duck tonight on the menu in Anaheim. Buffalo at Dallas.
Dallas.
Definite stars for moi.
Yes.
Pittsburgh at Detroit.
Pittsburgh.
I'll take the Wings. Todd McClellan. Don't you like Todd McClellan?
Yeah.
Penguins
do.
will be here on Friday. Nashville at Minnesota. I'll take Wild. Let's
Me
get
too.
wild. Okay. Utah at the Edmonton Oilers. Oilers for me, dog. As they come back. They just lost in Anaheim, so they'll be eager to atone for that. Vancouver at Calgary.
Vancouver.
Oh, that's easy. Flames for me. Are you watching how much of a dumpster fire the Vancouver Canucks are?
Yeah, it's not great.
They can't get out of their own way.
No.
Oh, yeah, you got to roll. You're doing your thing, aren't you?
Yeah, are we good?
Well, yeah, we're absolutely good. I'm trying to get these comments in. I see Kirk from Toronto. You've written in. Like I said, the text line's a little wonky today, but I see that you've written, Kirk. So thank you so much for your long time support of the program. And Moose, I can't see you. Am I supposed to see you? Are you counting me out, counting me down? You are, you aren't. Bob in Saskatoon says the Jays traded away all potential. Terrible organization. Good to hear from Eric Marriott as a diehard
Less than 30
Jays fan.
seconds.
Thank you. Less than 30 seconds. I really love that guy, Eric Marriott. He is the coach of the year as far as I'm concerned in the WCBL. It's the longest chat we ever had was here today. They are going to win under that guy. Write it down. At least we're putting a pennant up in the Ross next year from last year's Eastern title. Okay, we're done. Happy New Year, everybody. Moose, I'll see you next year. Stay safe.